Hello. Welcome to Just the Dis YouTube channel. Talk about Blu-rays. My name's Brian. This is going to be a quick one. I just wanted to... Well, I know you're probably going to be getting a lot of these on YouTube this week and this weekend, but I got my Vinegar Syndrome October package today, and not going to go too in-depth on this, but just kind of wanted to go through with you what you'd be getting if you had ordered the October package, or if you're thinking about any of these titles potentially for the Black Friday sale. Here's what they look like, here's what they have in terms of features, etc. But this is also part of a continuing effort on my part here at Just the Dis to have a Vinegar Syndrome month. I am on the podcast, I'm dedicating all 4 episodes each week of the show to Vinegar Syndrome this month, leading up to the Black Friday sale. So this week I talked to Brad Henderson. If you go and listen to the podcast, there's a link on my channel here. You can listen to an interview with Brad Henderson. He works there, and he had a lot of great insights about not only how he got that job, but also some favorites of his in terms of Vinegar Syndrome releases. So I do recommend you check out that interview. Next week we have Justin LaLiberty, who also works for Vinegar Syndrome, and an equally great interview where he also talked about some of his favorites from the label. And I find that, a lot of times people just want to know, what should I be getting? And in a case where you have a label like Vinegar Syndrome, which has so many films that are really being unearthed in a way, being put out there for folks to discover, myself included, you just want a little guidance, or just a kernel of an idea of what you could be getting from them. So Justin is next week. Then we have another show on underrated Vinegar Syndrome, and then Sam Deegan, who has done some Vinegar Syndrome commentaries, will be on the last episode of the show before the Black Friday sale, also talking about some of her favorites. So this is a slight plug for the podcast. If you haven't been listening, this might be the month you want to check it out, because it's going to be all about Vinegar Syndrome. And if that is something you're into, if you're clicking on this video and checking it out, then you might enjoy the show as well. But let's get into this. You probably are familiar with what is in this package, but in case you are not, I will show you what you're going to get. Okay, so let's go through these. First we have, let's do it this way. We have Deadly Games, Dial Code Santa Claus, which is, I think, the third, don't quote me on that, but I believe the third 4K release for Vinegar Syndrome. They obviously have Beastmaster coming next month, or at the end of this month, if you will. And they are really killing it with their 4K releases. And so I really look forward to this one. This one comes with a Blu-ray as well, if you just want to pick it up, which I do recommend. Here's what the back of the slip looks like. And then the alternate artwork, we'll show you that stuff too. That's what that looks like. Okay. So this one... I've heard is pretty fun. This was programmed by my friend Phil Blankenship at the New Beverly Theater in Los Angeles this year? Yeah, I guess it would have been this year. Or maybe it was last year. I can't remember now. But I've always wanted to see this one. I've heard it's a pretty bonkers Christmas movie, Home Alone, extreme kind of thing. Young Thomas is obsessed with action movies and video games, so much so that when his mother is out, he delights in turning the sprawling mansion where he and his invalid grandfather live into a makeshift battleground, concocting and setting elaborate traps. Home Alone, grandfather aside, on Christmas Eve, Thomas is soon faced with an unexpected and very unwelcome guest, a department store Santa Claus who is in fact a deranged maniac on the loose. Putting his skills into action, Thomas begins an all-out assault against the murderous Saint Nick, rather than risking his Christmas turning into something closer to Halloween. So that sounds like a lot of fun to me. This, let's see here, includes an interview with director Ray Manzor, which says it's 88 minutes long. That's quite a nice feature there. Interview with actor Elaine Musey, 40 minutes. Extensive still gallery and director commentary, 18 minutes. Multiple storyboards and scene comparisons. Archival behind the scenes featurette, 8 minutes. Synapse, a short film by Renee Manzor. So that's cool. I love it when they include short films, whether it's Vinegar Syndrome or other labels from the same director. And a Bonnie Tyler music video for the song Merry Christmas. Additional info, newly scanned and restored in 4K from its 35mm original camera negative. That is what you like to hear. If you can't get an original negative, maybe you got an inner positive, but original camera negative is what you always want, the best probably source you can get. So that is Deadly Games, Dial Code Santa Claus. First out of the package here. Let's see, what do we do next? Let's go this way. We have Cemetery del Terror. Cemetery of Terror. That's what the back of that slip looks like. I've already flipped the artwork on these, so this unboxing is just a little bit more organized, but that's what the alternate artwork looks like for this one. And I kind of like... I always like to have both, so I usually have the opposite of what's on the slip inside. But as you can see, you can get... there's the disc. You can get that alternate artwork out there as well if you want. So this is the, I think, second film that Vinegar Syndrome is releasing from director Ruben Galindo Jr., who did a movie called Don't Panic, which I really hope gets a release at some point because that is kind of bonkers, campy Mexican horror. These two, here's the other one, sorry. This is, of course, Grave Robbers, and that is the alternate artwork for Grave Robbers. This came out last month. So they have a couple now from him, from Ruben Galindo Jr., and I like this. I thought this was good. I enjoyed it. The ending, a little not quite as strong for me, but I have heard that Cemetery of Terror does not suffer from that problem, and in fact really amps up the ending. The last 10 minutes are supposed to be pretty great of this movie. This one is a Halloween night movie, which I always like. It says it's Halloween night and a group of bored teenagers decide to pull a ghastly prank as a means of getting lucky, stealing a corpse from the local morgue and taking it to a nearby cemetery where they perform a satanic ritual in an attempt to bring it back to life. Unfortunately, they happen to choose the body of a savage serial killer who has just been shot dead by police, ending a recent spate of satanically influenced murders. Unwittingly reviving the bloodthirsty sadist to the realm of the undead, the group of fun-seeking youngsters risk becoming dinner for the devil-worshipping zombie with an occult expert, Dr. Cardin, legendary Mexican character actor Hugo Stiglitz, who is great in a little movie called Night of a Thousand Cats and many others, able to try and put an end to the madness. This is the directing debut of Ruben Galindo Jr., and easily the wildest zombie movie to ever emerge from Mexico. We'll see about that. I'm excited to check this out, as I said. So this one has, it's been newly scanned and restored in 4K from 35mm negative elements. It's got a commentary track with director Ruben Galindo Jr., commentary track with the Hysteria Continues gang. Those guys are great. Slasher experts. Always interesting to hear their takes on these. Digging Your Own Grave, an interview with director Ruben Galindo Jr., and South of the Border Horror, a video conference with Rene Cardona III. So this is looking pretty good to me. This is actually one of the ones I'm probably going to check out first from this, as I'm hearing good things about this one in terms of this group. Let's see here. What's next? All right, we'll do this next. Next, we have Rest in Pieces. That's what the back of the slip looks like. Again, I've gone ahead and we have this artwork and this artwork available. I've gone ahead and flipped it. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this one or not, although this is the one that I always remember from video stores. I've still never seen this movie, but it's one that indelibly made an impression on me based on this artwork in VHS tapes, around the mom and pop video store community that I used to have in my area when I grew up. But that's the back looks like. This is, of course, from director Jose Ramon Larraz. And I'm just going to take a quick Larraz pause, okay? Just to give you guys a sense of what he's done. One of my favorites that I'd only just discovered this year was also by Larraz, and that's Edge of the Axe. This came from Arrow. Really great bizarro slasher movie. Oh, dang it, I forgot Deadly Manor. Deadly Manor also came out from Arrow. That is a Larraz film. I have that in the other room. I didn't grab it. I'll show you a few more. Symptoms. This is from Mondo Macabro, also Larraz. And then we have this, which was just reissued, I believe, the Blood and Hunger films of Jose Larraz, which includes Vampires, The Coming of Sin, and Whirlpool. I have not had a chance to dig into this. I've only recently picked this up. But there's lots of Larraz on Blu-ray here, including this Black Candles, which unfortunately is out of print, as I've been made aware. This is from Code Red. And then also, very racy stuff. This double feature, which was even harder to get. I think I had to import this from Spain. I can't remember now, but this is actually all region. I think I found this one on eBay, and it includes Stigma and oh man, I don't know the English. What are the English titles of these films? I forgot now. Emma Portis Oscuris. I've come unprepared. I forget the English titles of these, but this one's Stigma. Anyway, I haven't had a chance to check these out either, but I am a fan of Larraz ever since seeing Edge of the Axe. So, hence I'm very curious about Rest in Pieces. This one, it says Helen Hewitt has inherited her recently deceased Aunt Catherine's humongous country villa. Larraz likes big haunted housey kind of things. Like I feel like he's done that in a few of these movies, some that I haven't seen. Deadly Mansion is all about that. So, but that's not an inheritance thing. It's more of a group of kids in a big haunted house. Anyway, after arriving at their new home, she and her husband Bob immediately feel a sense of unease and hostility from the estate's staff and tenants, all of whom do their best to make the young couple feel unwelcome. As a strange and increasingly sinister events begin to take place around her, Helen becomes determined to uncover the truth about the goings-on and slowly begins to unearth the horrifying and unspeakable evil occurring at the mysterious mansion. One of a handful of films that acclaimed Spanish horror and exploitation auteur Jose Ramon Larraz made primarily for the American market, Rest in Pieces plays like a refined piece of Euro horror as filtered through the trashy mindset of late 80s direct-to-video trash. Pleasantly grotesque with a wry sense of self-aware humor, Rest in Pieces co-stars Dorothy Malone. Big deal for me. I'm a big fan of hers. She was in a bunch of Douglas Sirk movies, and they list her as being in The Big Sleep, which she is, and Basic Instinct. Jack Taylor, who was in Conan the Barbarian. Patty Shepard, never before released on disc. Oh yeah, this is fresh on, I think almost all of these have never. Dial Code Santa Claus was released overseas in a region B, but that's certainly a 4K debut as well as a US domestic Blu-ray. Let's see, new 4K restoration from its 35mm camera negative. I mean, I'm not going to stop down too much about this, but you guys know this already. If you're a fan of Vinegar Syndrome, you know they really care about presentation. You know, it's a big deal to them. It's not grabbing some collector print. It's not using an old transfer. Most of the time, I would say basically all the time, they're all about new transfers, finding the best elements they can, often negatives. They really do a great job. And I appreciate the varied output of films, but I also really appreciate the care in which they, preserve the elements and or bring them to disc. It's just really well done and should be commended. So anyway, I know this is a goofy horror movie, but I still respect that a lot. From a collector point of view, they really take care of you and you can trust them. Whereas I would say some maybe bigger labels, I'm not going to point any fingers, have a tendency to slide by an old transfer on you, and I get that sometimes that's what's available and it's a business and all that, but I say as a collector, we should support the folks that are doing right by us and going in and trying to do new transfers and things like that. Keep an eye on that as a buyer. I think that's important. And I respect that they do that a lot. So anyway, this has 2 soundtracks, an optional English language and a Spanish dubbed, piece by piece, an interview with actor Scott Thompson Baker, audio commentary with film historians Sam Deegan and Kat Ellinger. I cannot wait to hear that. That is going to be great. The Daughters of Darkness themselves doing a track on Rest in Pieces. That is going to be wonderful. So that is that one. Just a couple more here. I'm very interested in this one, Who Done It, which is also known. Hold on one second. I'll show you the back first. Also known as this is what the one side of the artwork looks like. But I like the alternate artwork because it's a completely different title. Island of Blood, which is the other name for this movie, which is a pretty cool name for a movie, and a movie a movie title that gets my attention. Both actually together get my attention, but this one I've heard is really solid, and I'm very curious about it. In a large house on an otherwise uninhabited Pacific island, a group of hopeful young actors have been assembled to prepare for their roles in what they've been told will be a very unique family-oriented film. But on their first night, one of them is horribly boiled alive and dies. Although initially assumed to be an accident, as other mangled and mutilated bodies begin to appear, it becomes apparent that a madman is lurking among them and seems to be concocting all of the diabolical deaths in accordance with the macabre lyrics to an obscure song. Oh boy, this movie totally won me over. One of the stranger cinematic interpretations of Agatha Christie's classic novel, And Then There Were None, William T. Nod's Whodunit, aka Island of Blood and Scared Alive, takes firm psychotronic hold of its, quote, respectable literary source material, transforming it into an over-the-top gorefest, complete with a jaw-dropping, out-of-left-field final twist. A victim of decades worth of terrible-looking, extremely dark VHS releases, Vinegar Syndrome is overjoyed to revive this never-on-disc early 80s slasher and present it on Blu-ray from a fresh 4K restoration of its 35mm camera negative. That is fantastic. I'm going to put this maybe first. It might be Cemetery of Terror first, but it's going to be really close, like these two together. Let's see here. So, just because I'm curious, this has something called Blood and Sweaters, an interview with actor Terrence Goodman, Dying for the Opportunity, an interview with actor Jim Piper, Containing the Excitement, an interview with actress Marie-Elise Recasner, Cutting a Long Story Short, an interview with editor Harry Riot, and a commentary track with The Hysteria Continues. Very cool stuff. Yeah, no, this one I'm very, very interested in. I think I showed you the back already, but yeah, that's going to be fun. Just a really great October package. I mean, can't say enough good stuff about this. Okay, let's finish this up. So we have our VSA title here, the Vinegar Syndrome Archive title, which of course has their wonderful, not patented, but it should be, hard case, which I think is so great. You see the little nub there. You can stick your fingers in, you slide it out from the bottom. That's what the back looks like. Necromancer. I flipped the artwork, but we also have, of course, this artwork on the inside, and that's what the disc looks like. This one I've definitely heard of, but I have not seen yet. It says Julie Johnson, a young college co-ed, is savagely gang raped by a trio of men who then attempt to blackmail her into staying silent. As Julie attempts to put her life back together and deal with her now suspicious boyfriend, she learns of a strange fortune teller who professes to have the ability to exact revenge through supernatural means. After visiting the woman who senses her trauma, Julie is possessed by a demonic force that punishes her attackers in the most fitting way possible: castration and death. I like that. A supernatural take on the rape and revenge storyline. Dusty Nelson's... Oh, this guy directed Effects. That's a really interesting movie. I think I have that over there somewhere. That was an AGFA title which is really interesting if you haven't seen it. It's kind of like a making of a low-budget horror movie becomes a horror movie into itself, meta thing. Really interesting stuff. Definitely worth checking out. That's cool I didn't connect these two. Necromancer was written by William Naud, who did Whodunit, connects back to that, and features a supporting performance from Russ Tamblyn. Oh, I gotta love Russ. Colorfully photographed and oozing with late 80s B-movie charm, Vinegar Syndrome Archive presents Necromancer on disc for the first time, newly restored in 4K from its original 35mm camera negative. Fantastic. Something called Taking the Reins, a video conference with Dusty Nelson, the director. Then you have Despicable Job, an interview with actor Lee Cole, a.k.a. Stan Hurwitz. Conjuring the Past, an interview with actor Wade Riddle. And that is it for this one. I think I showed you the back of that. Wow, yeah. Some interesting shots in the back that I'm not going to get too close on. But nonetheless, I think it's quite clear from this little roundup that you've got yourself a really nice group of titles from Vinegar Syndrome for October. And I cannot wait for the November package as well. I can't wait for Black Friday. I'm sure you guys have heard they're announcing some new VSA titles, and one of them's like 3D, and boy, it's going to be fun. So just the anticipation for Black Friday is something that's really got me all amped up. But this definitely primed me for the end of the month, and I've got a lot to go through here. Hopefully you enjoyed these. Let me know if you picked any of these up. Also recommended is I Start Counting, which came out from Vinegar Syndrome sister label, Fun City Editions. I hope to have that later this month, and we'll talk about it as well. A sort of psychological thriller with a very young Jenny Agutter. Go look that up on the Vinegar Syndrome site. I'll link it below, as I will link all these titles to the Vinegar Syndrome site. Again, let me know if you bought anything from them this month. If you have any plans to get anything from them for Black Friday, I'd love to hear about it. I am aware of most of their titles, but you may turn me on to something that I wasn't aware of or had neglected, so I always appreciate that stuff. If you like these videos, please, I know we all say it, like and subscribe below. It's greatly appreciated. And that'll do it for tonight. Thank you so much. Goodbye.